Hi Badgers, Danielle here. As a dramatic arts student, when I talk about online classes, I'm met with a lot of questions, which is understandable because I've wondered the same things about visual arts and music. But to my surprise, the arts community at Brock has not slowed down due to the pandemic. And if anything, these trying times are inspiring artists everywhere. So, to talk about this, I've invited some professors and students from Brock's thriving arts community. So how have you adjusted your classes to fit the online format?
Usually I work on vocal skills and we sing. We're all muted, of course, but I'll sing on my end. I have my setup here with my piano and stuff. Sometimes I'll play recordings for them.
It's kind of forced them to look to family members for inspiration, to look to typical like kitchen appliances or something for inspiration. And so I've seen some really interesting drawings that have kind of showed the life of quarantine through drawing, which was kind of interesting.
And then I think for us specifically in the arts, especially in dramatic arts and in music, we're so reliant on our interconnection in what we do. And when we don't have that, we really feel like there's a significant piece missing.
Much to my surprise, people have been so eager to connect and to communicate and to use this medium. And I think it's provided them with an enormous amount of relief and motivation and energy. And I think for a lot of people, it's keeping them sane to be able to work in this medium.
Students have had a lot of really wonderful guests who in normal times would probably never have come.
We've been asked to all stay home early on in the pandemic, and I think a lot of artists had benefited from that, so that they finally have a lot of free time where they can sort of focus on their craft. So I actually I anticipate, an ongoing explosion of creativity coming out as a result of this.
I think people are going to be a lot less afraid of painting or drawing or creating in general about subjects they like, because in this year of working on our own, we're not worried about painting or drawing what we think others are going to like. We're doing it for ourselves because we're the only ones seeing it.
We're seeing a lot more theater that's actually about online worlds and stuff, which I think is cool because art is always going to reflect life, and so we're seeing the ways in which art is being forced to reflect a certain aspect of life that we weren't seeing as much before.
But I also think it'll change the kinds of music that we do. We might, venture more, digital applications, with the music that we do, more adventure. I have some ideas for that, and I wouldn't have those if we hadn't gone through this time period. So that's kind of exciting.
I am really interested in all of the online productions I've seen because there are some things that people are doing that weren't possible before.
It's pretty nifty. It's a pioneering moment. Everybody is doing it for the first time in this age. And I've seen a lot of work from students that was superior to the work that industry professionals were churning out in this medium, because everybody's having to go back to that place of, well, what can we do? What can we find? And ask big questions. And sometimes students are asking bigger questions.
I worked on the main stage last semester, and that was one where the director really wanted it to be live, and so something that I'm noticing is how much more challenging it is to create digital stuff that is happening live somewhere and then streaming it out. So what ended up happening with the show is it was a live streamed thing with a ton of different technical aspects, and I think pretty much every performance something went wrong, and there were a lot of difficulties, and there was a lot of work behind the scenes and stress behind the scenes that just watching it from the outside, you'd have no idea how much people were freaking out behind the cameras.
The arts are always adapting and changing. How do you think that visual arts will be different once we come out of the pandemic?
I think there's going to be more of a focus, or at least it's going to be easier to market works that don't fit into a box of painting or drawing or digital work. Because in order to have been successful during the pandemic, you have to understand how all three work together in order to get your art out without being in person.
Innovation. I think, I've learned a ton this year, and so I can't imagine going back to the way I do things in the same way. I don't think I can undo the things I've learned this year. So do I want to do rehearsals over Zoom? No. But I've learned so many new skills this year. My students have learned so many skills, and I'm actually really excited about what we might come up with when we're in normal times.
I wouldn't want to be in this forever, but I think having this little epoch has actually been perhaps a very useful experience for a lot of people.